Football clubs are getting desperate for sponsors. At least, that is what I used to think every time I saw some completely random company on the front of a Premier League shirt. You know the ones. You are watching a game, and instead of seeing Samsung or Coca-Cola, there's a company called something like ZXBet88 or Global Capital FX 247. And you are sitting there thinking, who the hell are these people, and how do they have enough money to sponsor a Premier League team? Surely if this company was actually massive, I would have heard of them before. Except that is basically the entire reason they're sponsoring the club. They want you to ask who the hell they are. Think about it. Coca-Cola does not need to put its logo on Fulham's shirt so that you discover Coca-Cola exists. If I started Kwame Global Investments tomorrow, though, nobody knows me. I have 14 Instagram followers. 8 of them are friends, 4 are bots, and 1 is a woman I followed because she was attractive and she followed me back for approximately 6 minutes. How do I make millions of football fans recognize my company quickly? I could spend years running adverts, or I could put Kwame Global Investments in the middle of a Premier League shirt, and suddenly my company is appearing on television around the world every weekend. That is why these weird sponsors are so interesting. They are not sponsoring football despite being unknown. A lot of them are sponsoring football because they are unknown. And we are seeing this become even more obvious this season because the Premier League has just banned gambling companies from being front-of-shirt sponsors from 2026-27. For years, betting companies were everywhere. In the last couple of seasons, more than half the Premier League had gambling brands on the front of their shirts. Some of those companies barely operated in Britain and were targeting customers overseas. Now those logos have been pushed off the front of the shirt, so you would think football would go back to normal companies everybody recognizes. Nope. We have fintech companies, trading platforms, AI companies, software businesses, sovereign investment organizations. Everton have signed CMC Markets, a financial services company, as their new main shirt sponsor. Crystal Palace have moved towards AI and technology companies. So why does football keep attracting businesses most fans have never heard of? And why are some of those businesses willing to pay more than familiar brands? Because what they are buying is not really a space on a shirt. They are buying familiarity, and familiarity can become trust incredibly quickly. I know Rakuten because they sponsored Barcelona. Before Barcelona put Rakuten on the shirt, Rakuten meant absolutely nothing to me. Then I watched Barcelona every week, and there it was. Rakuten, Rakuten, Rakuten. Eventually I knew the logo without ever intentionally learning it. Chelsea had that giant 3 on their shirt for years. I barely knew what the company actually did, but I knew the 3. That is the product football clubs are selling. Repetition. Your company appears when the player scores. It appears during interviews. It appears in photographs. Supporters buy the shirt and walk around wearing your logo. The club posts promotional content with you. Suddenly, your random financial company starts looking a lot less random because people have seen it attached to Everton 50 times. And that last part is important because people naturally assume football clubs have checked the businesses they work with. If Everton puts a financial company across the front of the shirt, your brain can very easily go, well, Everton must trust them. That is why regulators have become interested in football sponsorship as well, particularly when crypto and financial trading companies are involved. But from the company's perspective, this is incredible marketing. Imagine I start some trading platform and tell you, Kwame FX is completely safe. Give me £500. You're going to look at me like I'm trying to steal your money. Fair enough. I probably am. But imagine for an entire season, you're seeing Kwame FX on Liverpool shirts, behind Andoni Iraola in interviews, on advertising boards at Anfield, and in posts from the club's official account. By the time I ask for your £500, I do not feel like a completely random person anymore. That familiarity is worth money. It's also why I now understand something my imaginary girlfriend has been doing to me for a little while now. Start small. First it is, can you buy me lunch? Fine. Then I get used to that. Next thing you know, we're discussing hair, nails, and some mysterious emergency that apparently requires money immediately. Familiarity. Build trust. Increase the transaction value. I respect the business model. Anyway, football clubs sell companies access to millions of people who already care deeply about something. And for a business trying to establish itself quickly, that audience can be worth far more than a normal advert people scroll past. The company does not need you to buy something today. First, it just needs you to recognize the name. But there is another reason clubs keep ending up with these companies. Sometimes the weird companies are simply willing to pay more than the normal ones. And the gambling ban has made that incredibly obvious. Before the ban, gambling companies were paying Premier League clubs roughly £60 million a year collectively for front-of-shirt deals. And clubs outside the traditional Big Six were particularly dependent on them, because bookmakers were often willing to pay more than conventional brands. Now those companies cannot be on the front of Premier League shirts, and clubs have discovered something unpleasant. Samsung does not automatically appear with a £12 million check just because stake disappeared. Earlier this year, clubs were reportedly facing a collective sponsorship shortfall of as much as £80 million, and some teams were being offered around half of what their previous gambling deals were worth. Bournemouth and Brentford were reportedly looking at new deals worth around £4 to £5 million a year after gambling agreements that paid significantly more. Meanwhile, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City, and Manchester United already have giant long-term commercial deals worth tens of millions every season, because global companies want those clubs. That is the difference. If you are Manchester United, you can sit in a room with Snapdragon and negotiate. If you are a smaller Premier League club, maybe Samsung is not offering you $10 million, but a trading company trying to become internationally recognized might. And then the weird company doesn't look weird anymore. It looks like the highest bidder. This is also why I laugh whenever football supporters say, "Why don't they just get a normal sponsor?" My brother, normal sponsor is offering $4 million. Weird sponsor has arrived with $9 million. You are the commercial director. Which logo are you putting on the shirt? I know exactly what I'm doing. If two companies offer to sponsor this channel tomorrow, and one is a respectable business offering me $5,000, and the other is called Kwame Bet Sex Crypto 88, offering me $50,000, I'm going to conduct extremely thorough due diligence. Very thorough. Maybe 6 or 7 minutes. Obviously, I'm joking. Please don't arrest me. But that difference in money is the problem clubs are dealing with. Burnley gave us an even stranger example recently. They announced trading platform Finotive One as their main shirt sponsor, then terminated the agreement only days before the season started, and replaced them with Vertu. Fans who had already bought the Finotive shirt were offered refunds, exchanges, or rebranding. But that whole situation shows how quickly this market is changing now that betting money has moved away from the front of Premier League shirts. So, the next time you see some company you have never heard of plastered across a football shirt, the question should not be, why would the club choose this random company? The better question is, why is this random company willing to spend millions making sure I know who they are? Because that is the deal. The football club has attention and credibility. The company has money and desperately wants some of that attention and credibility. Put them together and suddenly, a business that was completely unknown to you in August is a name you recognize by Christmas. The gambling ban has changed which industries are buying that access, but it has not changed why they want it. Gambling companies used football because they wanted customers around the world. Now, financial services, fintech, AI, and software companies are moving into the same space because they want exactly the same thing: recognition at a speed that ordinary marketing struggles to deliver. And for football clubs, particularly outside the biggest 6 or 7 global teams, the challenge is finding companies willing to pay what the shirt is worth. Sometimes the company paying the most is going to be one you have never heard of. That does not automatically mean there is anything wrong with them, but it also does not mean you should trust a company just because its logo is underneath your club badge. The club sponsorship itself is part of what is making you trust them. That is what they paid for. And I think that is the part I never really understood before. I thought these companies were on football shirts because they were already big. A lot of the time, they are paying to be on the football shirt because they are trying to become big. Football gives them millions of viewers, instant familiarity, and an association with something supporters already trust. Suddenly, that weird name does not feel weird anymore. You have seen it every Saturday for 9 months. And if one day you eventually become a customer, congratulations. The sponsorship worked exactly as intended. Just please do your own research before depositing your life savings into Random Bet Crypto 88, because your left back had their logo across his chest. That's it. That's all I have. Bye bye.